Hey everybody. I had a student the other day ask me, what do I do when I feel overwhelmed? And they expressed to me that, that they feel like they don't have enough time in the day to accomplish what they want to do, and that they always feel like they're trying to catch up, and they just feel overwhelmed and having a hard time to manage their thoughts and feelings. And when they asked me this, I thought it was very personal to me because I get these kind of feelings often. I value ambition, and I'm always trying to take on more than maybe is possible. And this allows me to accomplish big things, and it allows me to accomplish goals and work towards success. And sometimes it comes at a cost of stress, anxiety, fear, and feeling overwhelmed. And over the past years, I've been able to use different techniques to help manage, and I would like to share some of those today. One of the things is the famous saying, take one day at a time. And this is a cliche, and it does sound, easier said than done, but it helps us to remind us that let's break up what we are overwhelmed about, and let's try to break it up in manageable chunks. So what helps me do this is that when I have so many things on my mind and I get lost in rumination and in my thoughts and worries and anxieties and fears, I will write everything down. I have a notes section on my phone. I write down all of the things that I want to accomplish, or all of the things that I'm worrying about. Sometimes I write it on a piece of paper. Sometimes I write it in a Google Docs. And then once I write it down, it helps me to get it out of my mind and onto a piece of paper. And that allows me to organize my thoughts and then figure out my priorities list. And I can then take one day at a time, because I know I don't have to do all this right now. I just have to do one thing at a time. And if one day at a time is too hard, take it 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time, right? Just helps us to realize what's important at the moment, what can I control, what can I not control, and a step-by-step process onto checking off those boxes on your to-do list and helping you get those worries out of your mind and onto a manageable piece of paper, because our minds can't organize everything. It's impossible, especially when you manage a lot of different things, or you're working on many different projects. Your mind will constantly throw these thoughts at you, and it'll say, oh, don't forget to do this, and this deadline, oh, how about this detail, and creativity aspects to that, and worries about this. And it can be like you're in the middle of a storm and you just can't handle it. So that's one tool that I've done, is remind myself, take it one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time. Take these worries out of my head and put it onto a piece of paper so that I can manage my task list and to-do list. And one thing that I've learned is a technique called dropping anchor. This is something that I've been practicing a lot lately, and it's really helped me. When I notice that I am overwhelmed with worry, or overwhelmed with anxiety or frustration or fear, or some emotion that is hard to sit with, I practice dropping anchor. Now, what does that mean is, first, and probably the most important step in my opinion, is the awareness. We become aware of our thoughts and feelings. So when I have the feeling of overwhelmed and worry, I can then say, okay, I am feeling overwhelmed and worried right now. I am noticing these feelings and emotions. And once you start to notice it, you tend to get less lost and less hooked by these emotions and feelings, which if you don't notice it, you'll get caught up in them, and then it'll make you feel worse, because you'll just feel like you're becoming buried. So I often throughout the day try to notice my feelings and emotions, and I say, oh, I'm feeling kind of stressed right now. I'm noticing the feeling of stress and it's causing me to have tight shoulders. I feel a tension in my head. And then once I feel that, I can use my certain techniques to get back into my body, whether it's a breathing technique or a posture technique or a stretching technique. It's just whatever works for you, get back into the present moment using mindfulness. So what I do oftentimes is just focus on my breathing, stretch, fix my posture, do some cyclic breathing. And then the next step on the dropping anchor is to be aware of your environment. Okay, so it's kind of an inside out approach where I start with my thoughts and feelings that I become aware of. I get into my body using mindful techniques, and then I remind myself that I am interacting with the environment around me. They have a technique where you notice things that you see, you notice things that you smell, you notice things that you feel, and it helps to get back into the present moment. Now, it's not gonna make your worries and stress go away. However, it helps you to detach from the stress and the anxiety and the worry. It helps you to manage it and to understand it as a thought and a feeling that's normal. However, it doesn't have to control us. We can react to it, or we can respond to it in a different way. So those are the best techniques that work for me. Writing stuff down, reminding myself to take one day at a time, dropping anchor, practice mindfulness. And it's easier said than done. It's something that has to be practiced every day. And I also help myself by remembering to practice, my faith. Because when we have anxiety and fear, I have faith that things will be okay. I surrender myself to whatever is going to happen, because there's certain things I can control and certain things that I cannot. And it's probably not worth worrying about all these little details, because I've noticed that when we worry about certain things in the future or we get overwhelmed, the majority of the time, the things that we worry about never come true. So it ends up being worrying just for the sake of worrying, or feeling overwhelmed for, not really a good reason. Because the chances are whatever you're anxious about is not gonna happen. So after dropping anchor and after writing things down, I remind myself to surrender to the moment, to have faith that things are gonna be okay, because so far they have been, and everything that I've worried about, for the most part, 95 or 96% of the time, they don't come true. So I practice these things every day, and I hope that this little brief conversation can help you when you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed with so many things that you have going on in your life, whether it's family or stress about health or an upcoming BJJ tournament or job or a goal that you have to set. So there's so many things in life that we have feelings and thoughts about, and the feelings and thoughts are okay, whether they're good or bad. The best thing is, how do we respond to our thoughts and our feelings? Do we get hooked by them and let the thoughts and feelings suck us up into the storm, or do we notice them for what they are, pay attention to them, and respond to them in an appropriate manner? Thank you. Have a great day.